Hello and welcome back to Catch and Cook California. I'm Kevin. Today we are out in the calm waters of the bay. Today I want to teach you how to find one of my favorite clams, how to dig them, how to process them, and how to cook them. Today we're going for Washington clams, an incredibly abundant species right here in Northern California.
Now before we get started, we had an absolutely awesome mushroom season this year, lots of smiles and lots of good finds, but spring is upon us. But don't you worry, we got plenty of opportunities for rocky intertidal coastal foraging and all kinds of other adventures, including shore fishing. And for those of you who are interested, I will also be guiding some local clamming. So if this video is of interest and you want to come out and get muddy and see if you can find some of these delicious bivalve shellfish, hit me up, catchandcookcalifornia.com.
One of the most pressing issues when you're learning how to clam is safely navigating the intertidal out here. The intertidal over rocks has its own hazards, a lot of slips and trips and falls. Out here we have quick mud and quicksand. It's one of those things growing up I used to think that quicksand and quick mud were going to be a much more pressing issue in my life. But turns out when you're clamming, they actually are. So if you're walking along, you find yourself sinking really, really deep, maybe back out, try to find an alternative route. If you see areas with a lot of sand, those areas are probably going to be a little bit more compact and easier to walk on. Areas like this that are mostly silts and clays, you're going to sink much deeper. In this particular case, I've got a creek coming out through here, and that creek is full of gravel. That means the digging in here is going to be a lot harder, but it means walking is going to be a lot easier. So I'm going to use this creek channel to walk out into the mud flat, and then I'm going to turn, head out into the mud, and I'm going to start looking for indications. And we're looking for Washington clams. Let's go.
I can actually see an oval-shaped hole and that little bump in the middle. That right there is the neck of a horseneck clam. This one, also oval shape, is much smaller, and that one is going to have a Washington clam. The horseneck clam that was here is going to be tough and leathery in texture, and the Washington clam, the tip of its siphon is soft.
Washingtons tend to be a little bit shallower, probably about this deep. I'll go down until it feels pretty hard. I'm not being super careful because this is a Washington clam and their clam shells are a bit harder, a bit less likely to break. Covering that hole with my thumb, lifting with my knees, shimmy this back out, let go of that thumb hole, shake it out. The likelihood of the clam being in this column is very low. We're still going to get down into this hole and see if we can actually pull it out. I can already feel this clam. What I'm doing right now is I'm actually excavating next to the clam. I want to build a little bit of a void, and that allows me to get my hands around it to give it a wiggle. Once I can wiggle and free this up, that way he can't hold on anymore, I can pull out a beautiful Washington clam, just like that. That's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it, right? The rule is we each have to carry our own catch. So if you're coming out to do this, you need to bring a bucket. I think today, all I've got is a bag, but I'm carrying my own catch on out of here. Already, no skunk. We're also going to take this column of mud and we're going to pack it right back down in there. And that's very important because this maintains the structural integrity of the mud flat. That way it doesn't erode away and kill everything else that's in here by collapsing their tunnels. It also makes it so that we're not leaving a pile over the top of another clam that might make it hard for it to get its neck up to feed when the tide comes back in. Fill your holes. This is how we keep it sustainable. This is how we make it so that we can come back and do this for generations to come. And on occasion, they leave a completely live one like this sitting on the surface. It's a beaut too. Right there is the first one. That's a Washington. Beautiful clam. Deeply corrugated on the shell there, so you really feel that texture. And very short neck. Really thick shell too, and you can see that gorgeous mantle right there.
To clean a Washington clam, I use the same strategy as I use for horse necks. I run my blade right along the inside of the shell to sever the two adductor muscles. It's very important to use a flexible blade for this. I run my thumb along the mantle and then run my blade along the opposing shell. This allows me to separate both sides of that adductor muscle. The adductor is what the clam uses to open and close its shell. Once I remove the clam, you'll notice it's pretty sandy, but we're going to get to that in a moment. I'll free up these pieces of the mantle and then here remove the first adductor muscle, almost like a little scallop. These get set aside and then I'll head in and start cutting the foot. The foot is also edible and I want to make sure that I remove that from the gut. Here I'm going to remove the second adductor muscle and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut the base of the neck to get rid of the gut. Next, I'm going to remove the tip of the siphon or neck. It's very important that we remove any dark meat during this process. Then I'm going to split the neck right down the middle very carefully because the clam neck of this species is pretty slimy. And this is the meat from a single clam. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give everything a solid rinse. This is a very sandy business, so you really want to be meticulous with this, and that way the clam meat you're about to incorporate into your meal is wonderful. All right, got everything set up here. I've got my pan over here. I'm gonna put some oil on there. I'm gonna fry up part of the clam there. I'm also gonna fry up my tostadas here because of course we are making ceviche tostadas. I have soaked the Washington clam necks in lime juice overnight, so that neutralizes that sliminess that Washington clams will have only on their necks. And now that neck meat has no sliminess, really nice texture actually. And I didn't do anything to the rest of the clam meat because I'm gonna give it a nice kind of quick citrus marinade, so it's very, very fresh because this is safe to eat raw. This is all the neck meat. Also got a couple of clam feet here, those are going in. And then I'm gonna actually fry the mantle and I'm actually gonna sear the adductors, very similar to a scallop. I'm gonna use a blowtorch for that. I'm gonna roll this lime here, get it nice and juicy and ready to go. Remember, you want to make sure that the limes you're selecting are not hard. You want to find the ones with thin skins, kind of easy to squeeze, they have a lot of give to them. That's going to be a nice juicy lime. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find a fresher smell. Next thing I'm going with a serrano. It's a nice spicy chili, a little bit hotter than a jalapeno, not quite as hot as a habanero. They didn't have habaneros, so habaneros are my favorite, but serranos are wonderful, excellent flavor. I'm always thinking about it when I travel internationally. Some of the food that I miss most from home. It really is comfort food. This is part of, not part of my culture, but part of the culture around me at all times here in California, and that is Mexican food. I absolutely love Mexican food. It's a lot of chilies. Here we go, nice and spicy. All right, we're gonna get in there with some onion. I like white onion for this. Red onion's totally fine too, but white onion's pretty mellow. Nice crunch, but not too overpowering. Get some cilantro in there. Maybe just a little dash more. And then we're gonna go in there with some tomato. This is fresh, nice vine ripened tomato. Give this a stir. Traditionally with ceviche, it can be done with any number of species of seafood. You need either heat or in this case citric acid to cook the fish or shellfish. If you give it a long enough soak in citric acid, it can cook fish overnight. But that's basically allowing that citric acid to permeate all the way through the fish to kill any potential parasites. If you give it a quick soak in lime, even a couple of hours, even 6 hours, oftentimes it's not enough time for that citric acid to permeate all the way through the meat, which means if you have a parasite in the inside of that fish, you could still have a totally live parasite that you then eat that goes in your gut. So luckily with these clams, no parasites, they're totally safe to eat raw. So I'm not worried about a quick style ceviche here.
You'll often see in the restaurants they do a very quick style ceviche with fish like the pelagics, the free swimming fish. Think like tuna and yellowtail. Those are totally safe to eat raw. But don't go trying that with salmon or something like that, rockfish as well, because that is not safe. All right, so I got the basics all mixed up in here. I'm gonna give it a little bit of salt. Bring out a lot of that flavor. I'm gonna do a little bit of cumin, just a dash. It's very nice. A little bit of chili powder. This is a Mexican chili powder. Give it some more robust chili flavor. It's not gonna increase the heat too much, but it gives it a lot of flavor. This really comes together super quickly. It's not a crazy complex recipe, but mark my words, it's one of the tastiest darn things you can make. Not everybody throws an avocado in their ceviche, but I always do. I love avocado. Now I typically reserve adding the avocado to the very end. That way you can mix all the ingredients together and then give it a final stir with the avocado. And that way the avocado doesn't start to break into like, well, mush and basically turn into a fishy guacamole, which I'm sure would taste great, but is not gonna look very good. All right, I love a little dash of Tapatio. I know, like I said, I like spicy stuff. Don't worry, I'm gonna add some jalapenos on the side too. All right, now we're talking. It's our clam mantle. That's going into some flour here. Salt and pepper. Awesome, don't want to overcook it, just want it to be nice and golden brown. We're gonna spread them all out nice and evenly on this paper towel, and that way they're not gonna drain grease on each other. And now we're going in the tortillas. Perfect. These are the adductor muscles from the clam. And for this, I'm using fire, baby. Just gonna get it a nice golden brown here. Not even kidding. I'm always racing something. It seems like today I am racing the rain that's about to come. I can feel it. Clouds above me just got super dark and heavy. That's okay. That's okay. That's all part of the fun of working outdoors and cooking outdoors with a siren going on. That's okay too. Honestly, those people are probably out saving lives right now, right? I got nothing to complain about. I'm making ceviche tostadas in a park with fresh clam. No complaints. Now, I'll do some fried clam up on top there as well. And a big old seared, blow-torched scallop of an adductor mussel up on top of there as well. Finishing salt on there. And because I do love my heat, in comes a dash of some hot sauce. And of course, a little side of jalapenos. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I do love spicy food. Check this out. It's ceviche tostada time. Oh, baby. Oh, man. Mmm. What an incredibly lovely clam. Jalapeno. Fried clam mantle. The fried clam mantle is like the most tender calamari you could ever imagine. This is wonderful. A seared scallop of an adductor mussel right off the top there. Lovely sort of mild char notes and a little bit of crunch on the outside. The inside is buttery tender, not quite as tender as a scallop. These adductor mussels from a clam, they're never going to be as tender as a scallop, but nice and tender. I think that's the most tender way to do these. And then all this together, it's like the perfect blend. And the citrus is like this beautiful balance to cool down all the heat from the chilies. And of course the crunchy texture from the tostada, the chewiness from the clam, the butteriness from the avocado. Whole thing came together beautifully. Dude, that's so freaking good. I'm gonna polish this off. I hope you learned some things about Washington clams right here in the Bay Area in this episode. And until next time, keep the old ways alive.